There's those intro music that we've come to know as the kickoff to Seattle Boat Show Live. It's Thursday evening, July 15th. And good evening, Mark Bunzel from, let me guess, Whidbey Island? Is that Whidbey Island behind you?
Well, tonight it's Whidbey Island, Oak Harbor Marina, and the seals are behind me on the log, and the sailing fleet is going to be coming in behind me from their Thursday night races. We got all kinds of things going on.
What a beautiful night. The weather's been incredible. It's been dry. We had a little bit of precip in Seattle, but we are approaching super dry weather. On the one hand, we need the rain to keep off the forest fires, but on the other hand, gosh, what an incredible time to be in the Pacific Northwest. And Landon, you are up farther north, up in the great state of Alaska. How's it going in Sitka?
Oh, it's raining right now. I was just going to say dry. No, we'll send some down your way, but it's been good up here. We've had a few good days, but a little bit of rain too, right?
Right.
Hey, have you seen a lot of wildlife up in Alaska?
We have. We've seen bears along the shore. We've seen a number of whales, humpback whales, and could hear them blowing and slapping and reaching. It was fabulous.
Yeah, and one of them was the boat right in front of us. Some friends that were in front of us saw this, and we missed the glimpse of it. But there was in Lisiansky Strait, there was a bear swimming across the strait. That was quite a sight.
Wow, nice.
We've even had whales just the other night, just off of Langley. I didn't see them, but people on the boat next to us were just raving about the whales out there, gray whales.
What a bounty we have in the Northwest from Oregon, Washington, BC, Canada. We've got it all. We've got Alaska. Mark, what are you hearing about the border, speaking of Canada?
Well, Lorena's got the updates on that, but there's a little bit of optimism. Lorena, why don't you fill us in on that?
And
Go
I had
ahead.
something else.
Yeah.
So what I've been seeing and hearing is that the Trudeau is now saying that something's going to happen in weeks, not months. So there's some hope there, and Trudeau and that's from Trudeau. The other thing from various sources, we're hearing July 23rd. And we've heard that again from from about 3 or 4 different sources. And it's in different context, and it talks about things opening up in July 23rd somewhere. So that's an element of it. The other date that we've heard is August 1st. We've also heard some word that something could happen possibly in the late July timeframe that would provide people like customs and other folks with enough notice that things might open up in August, somewhere August 1st. So that's more than the rumor that we're hearing. There appears to be some movement there.
But there seems to be a consistent point with this, that they are going to want people, non-Canadians, to be vaccinated. So if you haven't gotten your vaccination yet, and you want to go boating, probably a good idea to get your vaccination in place.
Exactly. We hear the same thing. Fully vaccinated is the key to it.
And on top of that as well, you're going to want to have a passport that's not expired. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at their expiration date on their passport. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday about the backlog of passports. I'll put that in the chat. So that's another issue to take seriously. Even if you feel cocky that, it's just not for a few months before it expires, or maybe 6 months, double check that and err on the side of caution there, as they are overrun with, the headline is port delays to persists even though they've got more staffing. So trouble in River City on that issue if you have a passport that's going to be expiring soon.
Peter, anything else legislatively? I've heard more about Andrews Bay, and I was
going to mention Andrews Bay. I'm going to put something in the chat for boaters to take a pledge. We had a boating ambassador weekend 2 Saturdays ago, where we had about 10 boats go out and visit with other boaters to remind them just how to act responsibly when they're in the water. Andrews Bay is such a special area in Seattle and Lake Washington near Seward Park, and apparently it's as Yogi Berra would say, so busy that no one ever goes there anymore. So we're just reminding boaters how to act responsibly. So that's going to be in the chat. There's a Department of Revenue issue that's popped up around depreciation of your vessel as you look at your excise tax. We felt like that was out of line, so we jumped into action on that one and trying to ensure that boating remains affordable for people. So that was a strange one that popped up. More to come on that. But yeah, it's a little bit quiet right now, Mark. A lot of legislators are out on their vacations. There's maybe some fundraising events here and there. I did go to my first city council fundraiser just 2 nights ago. So it's great to get back into that scene, and I had a blast seeing some old colleagues. So yeah, life is getting back to normal. And I say all of that, and I also recognize that the COVID numbers are back on the upswing, especially with that Delta variant. I saw that Los Angeles County is going back to require masks for indoor activities. So yeah, that's rather ominous. But our state did reopen on June 30th, and all systems go, and Governor Inslee has given all of us the green light with a small caveat of indoor gatherings above 10,000 people. He's going to want that fulfilled at 75% capacity. The only reason I mention that is we think about the Seattle Boat Show, and you might be wondering about that in 10,000. We don't normally draw 10,000 people on one specific day, so we should be in the clear now if, God forbid, we're able to continue on with this current trend and not have any rude awakenings down the road, but we shall see. So yeah. And Landons, when do you start coming back to Washington State?
We have some friends that are joining us up here for a couple of weeks, and then about 1st of August is when we head back. And if the border opens up and we can do some recreational cruising on the way down, then we might do some Waggoner work in BC, which we desperately need to get some updates for the 2022 Waggoner Guide. All right.
Very good, very good. Mark, do you have any updates for us?
A little bit. As I mentioned, I'm in Oak Harbor. Oak Harbor is just fantastic. Last night was in Everett, and I have to say, the Everett Marina, they just continue to add things on and on and on in terms of the bridge, of course, is there, which is all lit up at night. The new restaurant at Indigo Hotel, I didn't get to go there last night, but I'm going to go back to go to the Jetty, which is the name of that. They've got cinema in the marina going on. Look at their website. You can see what movies are playing, and a fun event. And they've got all kinds of fun events going on. So that was interesting. Langley, still very, very popular. We were a little worried though, because we got up into the town, and this was on Tuesday night, and most of the restaurants seemed to be closed, and many of the shops were closed. And we asked around, is this a new policy? Monday through Wednesday, are things closed? And the problem is they can't get enough people in the restaurants, workers, and in the shops. So they're closing during what are normally the slower days of the week. So if you're looking to go out to eat in Langley, you may want to check ahead of time to make sure they're going to be open. We ended up last minute shifting restaurant plans to Village Pizza, which is just fantastic, highly recommended. And we had a good time. Met some people there, and it was great. So it was terrific. Before that, we stopped at where did we stop the first night? We didn't go La Conner, beautiful La Conner. Here again, plenty of room in the marina, and we did make reservations. And I do recommend, whenever you can, to make a reservation. There are many places like Rosario and Roche Harbor that are completely booked out, not able to take any reservations, but try anyway. I talked to our good friend Troy Buck yesterday, and I said, Troy, how's it working out with the process at Roche Harbor? And the process is that they won't take your reservation, but they say show up the morning you want to come in, and they'll take your name and put you on the list and call you in when your slip opens up. And I know a lot of people have been very disappointed with that program. So I said, Troy, how's it working? He said, actually, they just about always get everybody in. So even though you hear that, give it a shot, go on in and give it a try, and you're going to have a wonderful time at Roche Harbor. So that's the latest from this past week, but things are busy. A lot of boaters out on the water. And of course, tomorrow, for those of you that don't know, actually today was the opening of crabbing season in Area 7, which covers the San Juan Islands. A lot of people out crabbing today. And salmon opens up tomorrow, as our friend Karsten, who is running the dials for us tonight, can tell us. I think he's getting a boat ready to go out salmon fishing tomorrow. So a lot of excitement for fishing and crabbing.
All right.
Great. Well, we have some updates as well. One of interest is RCO, Recreation and Conservation Office for the state of Washington. They're looking for volunteers for advisory committees for various committees like parks and habitats and farms and forests and trails and of course boating programs. So if you're interested in being a committee member, contact them. We'll put the address in the chat here a little bit later, but as a volunteer, you help evaluate the projects and learn how to score the projects. You're the first to get the inside scoop on what's going on. And of course, an opportunity to network with like-minded people. So think about that. Oh, and the good thing is when you do your scoring and evaluation, it can be done remotely now instead of traveling to Olympia. So that's good news. And then Elliott Bay Marina, you may have heard new ownership there. Southern Marinas will own and operate the marina effective July 16th, tomorrow. Wow. And they own and operate marinas all over the country. So they are well respected, and they have a focus on both marina and resort operations. So they're going to be carrying on the very high quality that we all love at Elliott Bay. And Dwight Jones, we all know him. He'll continue to lead the day-to-day operations. And also at Elliott Bay, the fuel dock starting Friday, they will temporarily be out of beer and wine. They are awaiting the state to issue their new liquor license. So
this is big news.
Yeah, big
news. You can't pick up beer or wine at the fuel dock at Elliott Bay Marina for a while.
But apparently you can at Maggie Bless, so keep that in mind, yeah. And then in BC, the annual Hornby Music Festival on Hornby Island. It's always a big event. Of course, they did not hold it last year. They are holding it this year, July 30 to August 7, but there will be a limited number of tickets sold. And as in past years, the concerts will be held at the beautiful Rosemeal Farm on the island. And for more information, you can go to hornbyfestival.com. And a reminder about Haida Gwaii and Gwaii Haanas. They are open to BC boaters that have been fully vaccinated. So they are welcoming boaters.
That's amazing. I would have lost that bet because I would have bet that Haida Gwaii would have been closed for quite a while. So that's quite big news, I think. News.
And then Shearwater, their fuel dock is open and available to all boaters, including U.S. and foreign flag boats who are doing the transit through BC waters. Moorage and hotel bookings will be open for BC residents on July 23rd. And for the rest of Canada, starting August 1st. And of course, a reminder, Shearwater properties were purchased by the Helsuk Nation, including all of the resort amenities. So that's, again, a kind of as Leonard was pointing out, July 23rd.
Those dates popping up again.
Or popping up. Another announcement from Transport Canada. They announced that the large cruise ships can return to BC or stop in BC starting in November 1 of 2021 instead of the previously announced date of February of 2022. So again, some good news there.
Things opening up, basically.
And then Leonard, you had some more updates for BC and Southeast.
Things opening up, Ocean Falls on North BC, that's been closed. And they just voted there, and they're going to open up on August 1st. So the small craft harbor and all the facilities will be open in Ocean Falls on August 1st. Kitimat in northern BC, the marina and the facilities are open to BC boaters that have been fully vaccinated. And in Prince Rupert, Cow Bay Marina is open and very busy, as a matter of fact. If you're planning to stop there on your way southbound, as we are, give a call ahead of time to make sure there's space for that for you. And excuse me, the other note there in Prince Rupert is that lightering dock has been closed for a while, and it's permanently closed now. The city actually purchased that, and there are plans in the works now to add yet another new marina in Prince Rupert, which sounds like it's desperately needed. And here in Southeast Alaska, the absence of the cruise ships is notable. We've talked about that before, but one of the things that it did was it brought to our attention the number of pocket cruise ships that are up here, and it's pretty surprising, the number of pocket cruise ships. So the smaller ones, the ones that have 100 to 150 passengers at most, and we see them all over the place. We see them in some of the most unusual anchorages too, the smaller places that you wouldn't expect them. And you pop in there and there's this larger ship in there. They invariably have about a half a dozen to a dozen tenders there, and they always have a bunch of brightly colored kayaks and some very happy passengers on there that are on shore taking some excursions. In Sitka here, the town is very busy right now, and this truly is one of the true Southeast Alaska towns, even with cruise ship passengers, and there are none right now. There are a couple of pocket cruise ships, but that's about it. But it's very busy right now. The marina is very busy. The guest dock moorage here is very, very tight. The first come, first serve, and the hot berth slips are tight as well. The town is very much alive. The restaurants are active. Gift shops are open. Kind of the same message you had, Mark, and that was that the biggest problem here is staffing. So some of the restaurants aren't open all that many hours, or they have limited hours. And it's all staffing. The harbor master that we were talking to said that that's the biggest problem right now is getting staffing.
And we did just hear that Sitka is asking folks to wear masks again. There have been a few cases of COVID that have cropped up. So they're requesting that folks wear their masks.
And that's very breaking news right now. We just saw that today. Up until now, pretty much masks have been only a few people here in Southeast Alaska, but apparently there's a bit of a spike here in Sitka right now with about 60 cases. As we heard a number that was much lower than that, but just saw somewhere on the news that it was a little higher than that. So that's the news from up here.
Well, who's our guest speaker tonight, Lorena?
We are so pleased to have Amy Eberling with us. She's captain and executive director of the Salish Sea School, where young people have the opportunity to learn about marine conservation through studies and actually going out on a boat and making surveys and other activities. Amy spent 10 years as a high school biology teacher. And after experiencing the power of hands-on learning, she had the dream of starting the Salish Sea School. The programs are tailored through science and research. She's a collegiate lacrosse player and coach, and she served as a marine naturalist aboard multiple vessels. And she's a fierce advocate of endangered population of the southern resident killer whales. She holds a bachelor's of science in biology and a master's in multicultural education. And again, she has her U.S. Coast Guard captain's license and is here to tell us all about this school and the opportunities for young folks. So Amy, if you can come join us, there she is.
Hey.
Hey, thank you guys for that introduction. I'll go ahead and share my screen now. I'm super thrilled to be here. It was so fun watching that introduction video and seeing spots I recognized here in Anacortes. So can't thank you guys enough for inviting me to be here and all you guys do to really support the boat community. As I get these students on the water excited about marine life and marine conservation, I also realize how important it is to get these kids just on the water in a vessel. And that's been so much fun to see, and a surprise that I wasn't expecting, the importance of they just look over the gunwale of the boat and touch the water as it's splashing up. And so that's been magic. So I could talk about boating, I guess, more than the school itself. So my name is Amy Eberling. I use she, her pronouns. And as you heard, I was a high school biology teacher, and really I wasn't able to bring science alive in the way that I always imagined or dreamed of in a windowless classroom. So after teaching biology for 10 years, I did start dreaming about an outdoor-based school. So began the Salish Sea School. We officially started last year. And I'm the founding director and just fiercely passionate about cultivating student leaders in marine conservation. As you heard, the southern residents, orcas are near and dear to my heart, but quickly everything else that needs these waters have become, part of my passion as well. So we believe in the power of students. And I'm going to show you a quick video that kind of gives an introduction to the school and what we believe.
No matter your position or place in life, it is imperative to create opportunities for children so that we can grow up to blow you away. So adults, let's stop thinking of our children as future citizens and instead start valuing them for the citizens they are today.
Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come.
Could you guys hear that music?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Sounded
great.
great.
Good. Because we tested that earlier, but I forgot to click that box again, so I guess it's saved. I do want to say, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. Put them in the chat box, and I think your hosts will interrupt and ask. So I am thrilled to answer questions as I go along here and keep this very casual. So our programs are designed really to bring marine science and research alive in ways that inspire a personal connection to the waterways that then inspire personal conservation efforts, if that's starting to recycle or write an elected official, or even pursue a career in marine conservation. That's kind of our goal, is to introduce these students to a lot of fun. And we'll get into some of the stuff that we do during our programs that you see in these pictures. So we also just really want to build a community of students that have a passion for our local marine waters and really live a life, that helps protect them, or again, pursue a career in this marine conservation, marine science topic. So we really want to get kids excited about local marine life and bring them into this conversation. As I'm sure all of you are aware, we have some amazing marine life in our waters. So from the sea stars to the puffins to the sea lions to the orcas, we really believe that when students experience something, if you think about something that you're really passionate about, you became passionate about it from experiencing it. So it's that one memory of a family vacation or whatever that is that got you excited about something maybe you're pursuing now. That's our goal, is to find what these students are interested in, but you have to introduce them to it first. So we kind of run the whole gamut here from intertidal all the way up to the larger marine organisms. Now, I like to do a little bit of a background on the name, the Salish Sea, since that's in our school name here. And I don't know how many are familiar with how the Salish Sea got its name. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do a brief intro and background to that. So the Salish Sea here pays tribute to the Coast Salish people, and it's a group of ethnically and linguistically related indigenous peoples on the Northwest Pacific coast, made up of many tribes, as you can see here, that had very distinct cultures and languages. So they have been here since time immemorial, and they are the first stewards of the area. They have a long history of knowledge from hundreds of generations of ancestors about how to best use the resources of this land, and we still have much to learn from their traditions and techniques. Our school is where the Red Star is here, is located on the traditional land of the Salish Indian Nation people, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the Salish tribe. So diving a little bit deeper into the Salish Sea and the naming. So Bert Weber here on the left was the one that proposed this name. He was a marine biologist, proposed it in 1988. So this was during a time of growing public concern over bringing super tankers into our inland waters. So this threat convinced the state and federal government to quantify marine resources among these tanker routes. So scientists from the Washington Department of Ecology began an extensive study of shoreline organisms, and NOAA began a marine ecosystem analysis program. And their goal was to describe the ecology of the areas that were really most at risk from an oil spill. And during this study, scientists found what I believe to be exceptional and really neat. It was an integrated inland sea. And so it was a connected ecosystem that wasn't previously described before this study. So the foundation of this ecosystem is the interaction between the freshwater discharges from rivers and the saltwater from the Pacific. And it's a unique bioregion. It's truly unlike any other place on Earth. And when that freshwater river flow into the salt marshes, wetlands, and bays, they bring important nutrients collected from the fertile valleys they flow through on their way down. So here I like this interactive map on the right that shows those freshwater rivers mixing with the saltwater of the Pacific. That creates an incredible foundation for all of the marine life that depends on our waters. So the name was officially adopted by the governments of BC and Washington in 2009. And really the importance of this name, in my eyes and many others, is that it can help with international policies and regulations. So now scientists know what happens in Canada, an oil spill or something else affects the same ecosystem and organisms in Puget Sound. So the Salish Sea School was an important name for us to choose to represent that not only organisms depend on these waters, they don't know politics, they don't know boundaries, they're simply part of and dependent upon this incredible ecosystem known as the Salish Sea. And that's how us humans can come to understand it as well, I hope. So all of our programs take place either on the Salish Sea with our older students or near the Salish Sea. We have shore-based programs with our younger students, as you see there. So we're based out of Anacortes here. We launch out of Cap Sandy Marina, and our boat-based program really goes all over, as you can see, orcas, river otters, harbor seals, puffins. There is a lone horned puffin on the right there that is visiting Smith Island, which shouldn't come further south than Alaska or BC, and really special visitor there. And of course, the harbor porpoises as well. So it was only natural to make this an outdoor classroom, especially after experiencing all those years in the science biology classroom as a high school teacher. So our mission is really to create programs that include adventure, research, and action. So we really want to involve students in place-based education adventures, which means knowing your local waters. Can you name the islands that you see while you're on the boat? So when we're on the boat, we always go through the map, we show them where they've been, and we name the islands that they see. So they're really connecting with the ecosystem on a different level. And then also helping research, which I'll go through a few things that involve the students in researching. But it's really special. We've connected with some scientists that are doing projects already. So the students have been trained based on these scientist protocols, and they are actually helping collect data that will hopefully help give a healthier Salish Sea, a better picture of how it can become healthy, and getting great practice in the meantime for resumes or potential career exploration. And then a huge part in our eyes is, all adventure and research is great, but if you're not doing anything about it, it can't take you too far. So we encourage students, whatever they're passionate about, teach them how to write letters, which is actually amazing how many students haven't ever written a letter before. So they ask where to address on the envelope, and they don't know the lines to put it on because of email and technology today. So a simple handwritten letter to an elected official is something that all of our students participate in. And our mission statement is to create student leaders in marine conservation. So I'm here tonight to talk about our boat-based student programs. So there's one that has started last year and is going on this year as well. It's called Guardians of the Sea. So really empowering those students to protect their ecosystem. And then there's a new research internship we're going to launch next year, and it's called Student Training as Research Scientist, otherwise known as STARS. And that's going to launch in 2022. So I'm briefly going to go over some of the fun stuff. Well, I think it's fun stuff that we cover. So during the Guardians of the Sea program, we try to span the ecosystem. So we start with baleen whales, and we'll go over that one day. And the Guardians of the Sea is a 4-day program. It's daily, it's 9 to 5. We don't do overnight. So we launch out of Cat Sandy Marina, and we're in search of baleen whales. So that's our gray whales, humpback whales, or minke whales. We learn about, we do adventure research and action for the baleen whales. Do the same thing for orcas, marine birds, porpoise, pinnipeds, and intertidal, and I'll show you some pictures here. So the humpback whales are a baleen whale, so they have that, the mouth material, it's called baleen, that looks like a toothbrush. And amazing recovery story here in the Salish Sea. They were almost wiped out completely from whaling a century ago. So they are recovering, and here you can see it is a mom bringing her baby back in, and she was tail slapping, and the students were able to experience this just last week. We also talk about the different orcas that we have here in the Salish Sea. So we have the Biggs orcas, named after the scientist Michael Bigg. They are larger than the southern residents as well, but that's not why they have their name. And he was the first one that discovered that their saddle patch was different here. So the white marking behind their dorsal fin is all different, like a fingerprint. So we take pictures of the orcas that we see, and we bring out the ID guide, and we're able to identify the name. So T is transient, and so this was 49C in his birth year, because scientists have been studying these orcas in our area from the 1960s and 70s. So that's exciting. We actually help the students learn how to identify them, and then give them the ID guide to do it themselves. We, of course, talk about the Be Whale Wise guidelines, and students love waving the flag aboard our boat or putting it up. So that's special. I didn't even think that was something that they would like to do, but they're like, oh, can I wave the flag? So something always surprises you with students. But we go over that and why it's important to keep the marine mammals safe, and the regulations that are in place to do so as well. So unfortunately, we don't see the southern resident orcas nearly as much as we used to here, but we do visit the Center for Whale Research in Friday Harbor with them. So we take our boat over and park at the dock, and that's a fun experience, as I'm sure all of you know, going to Friday Harbor. Here's a picture of the southern residents. So you can see that they travel in very large family groups. And just a side note, because they hunt salmon, they can travel in larger family groups. The transients, so that male right there was traveling alone. They travel in smaller family groups because they have to be quieter for the seals and sea lions and whales that they hunt. So here you can see our student writing elected official about the salmon declines in our area. So that's really what we cover about southern residents. They're not here anymore. We talk about some ideas as to why that might be. And then we ask them to do something about the salmon declines. So there are some success stories. Pinnipeds, as I'm sure you guys all know as well, are recovering, which is why the Biggs orcas are in here a lot more than the southern residents. But we go out and we look at all the rocks, and we work with a local researcher called Pacific Mammal Research, Cindy Elliser. And she's developed these protocols for us that the students use. And so we'll go and we'll count the harbor seals, and it's really special right now because they are in pupping season. So last year, Trevor is our intern. He works for Pacific Mammal Research, and he actually captured on his camera one of the seals giving birth. So that was exciting and something really cool that all the students were able to experience. So we also do marine debris survey. So we're kind of doing a 2-for-1 special here. We're cleaning up a beach, but our goal, our school created this survey to figure out the types of debris, what is washing up on our local shores here, and also the rate of accumulation. So once you do a beach cleanup, how much debris turns up again. So this is the same beach that students survey with the different programs. And so we're able to gather this data And we have volunteers across the region that are adopting a beach, if you will, for a year to do this. So it's really interesting to see what materials have started showing up. And we just started this in May of this year. We also, want to connect the ecosystem. So we start at the bottom of the food chain, not the very bottom with plankton, but next up is forage fish. So bait fish, those small herring, surf smelt. And they all lay their eggs on this very tiny gravel that you can see in this bucket on beaches. And you basically want the eggs to go into this vortex, and the eggs will go up and down into the hole here while the gravel sinks. And it's a really cool process that the local scientist developed. I think it was from a mining technique, actually. He took that same little apparatus there, and he did it for forage fish eggs because they're light enough that they float and go down. So anyway, students then look at them under the microscope, and you're actually able to see the egg developing, or the fish developing inside the egg, and count the eggs, how many are alive, how many are dead. And this is Fidalgo Bay RV Resort here. It's a very good spot for forage fish, so that's why they're continuing to monitor it. We go over the different salmon cycle, life cycle stages as well. You can hear our student looking at those preserved salmon stages from a local salmon pathologist that visits us and brings his really nice microscope to look at. A fun thing that, every 4 students like and 1 student doesn't is salmon stomach dissection. So we have a local fishing company that donates salmon stomachs when they catch the fish sustainably. They give us a salmon stomach, so they call me the gut girl. Because they're like, I don't even think they know my name. They're like, the gut girl wants these. So I'm like, yes. They gave me some really great stomachs, like this one right here. Well, all of these fish were pulled out of this stomach. So not only are you learning about the forage fish and the habitat they need where they're laying the eggs, but you're connecting the ecosystem. These forage fish are important to salmon, which are important to the southern residents. And you can see this one was a female. So getting to touch those salmon eggs and pull the forage fish out of the bellies. And one of these fish was like half digested here. And so it was gross for some, but some students really love it. And they dissect these forage fish as well. So obviously it's a very hands-on experience. We go to even stormwater discussions where you're talking about contaminants. A lot of students don't even know the name stormwater. They are familiar with the word runoff though, but we teach them how at home you can avoid things going down into the stormwater directly into the Salish Sea, like washing your car on the grass or taking your car to a proper car wash because they're required to treat it, or using less pesticides or herbicides, or using a rain barrel. So all your roof, whatever you spray on your roof goes to a rain barrel, and you reuse it to water your garden. So they use these micropipettes to actually test for fecal coliform. And we do that in a marina. The local marina here, actually, Cap Sandy has partnered with us and bought these little test strips that you see on the table here for them to test. And we haven't found any fecal coliform yet. So basically poop in the water. They decide where they want to collect the samples themselves. So I give them where do you think it would be found? And a lot of them go to the storm drain area to collect that water. But using a micropipette is a lot of fun for them. And then just kind of off topic, it's been a crazy year with COVID and cell phones and technology and TV. So we don't allow cell phones during our programs, and we take hikes. This is Mesha Island, I think, on the left there. So we'll go all the way out to Mesha Island, and I'm sure you guys have been there, but if you haven't, it's just incredible. And really teach them how to use your senses. So, we're so stuck on technology that you forget you're smelling things or seeing things or hearing birds. And so really going back to the basics of using your senses is kind of the whole mindfulness practice. On the right, you can see nature journaling. So kids are encouraged to really look and observe something and then draw it. So you're actually noticing the leaves on a blade of grass or being in the moment and observing that. So that's kind of some downtime. We'll travel to an island for lunch and then do some sort of mindfulness practice like that. And then the last research thing that I'll talk about today is our marine bird survey. So marine birds have been very near and dear, become very near and dear to my heart. As you're looking for whales, there's no whales, but there's birds. And then you start kind of falling in love with the birds. I mean, the rhinoceros auklet, look, that guy, he's like orchestrating a choir. And the tufted puffins I'll get into a little bit. And then, of course, the marbled murrelet is on the right. The two outlined in red are endangered in our state. And so we definitely cover that. The marbled murrelet on the right here does like to nest in old growth forests. And obviously those have been cut down, unfortunately. And so their nesting habitat is becoming decimated. And tufted puffins, I have some information I'll get into in a second here. I won't cover everything. But we go down to Smith Island here, and on our way, we stop at these stars. They're GPS points that we've developed with a scientist, and the students actually help us identify the birds. And we do it on the first day, so it's not, you know, we set their expectations not very high with seeing whales on the first day or trying to see whales on the first day. So we get them excited about birds on the first day, which is a little bit easier, but they help us identify all the amazing feathered creatures. And you also see in some spots there's no birds, and you have them ask the question, why do you think there might be birds here? Talking about the fish and bait fish and the bait balls with the seagulls, and really help them critically think. So we go all the way down to Smith and do the bird survey at those points. So we are super excited to help. This is our scientist we've been working with, Dr. Peter Hodem. He's a conservation biologist and professor at University of Puget Sound. And he's developed a tufted puffin protocol for us. Him and Scott Pearson of WDFW have been studying the tufted puffins and helped them become listed as endangered. I'm not going to show the movie right now, so it's going to play. I'm just going to briefly talk about the tufted puffin status. So a lot of people, when they hear puffin, they think this guy right here, the Atlantic puffin. So you can see their range map here. And the tufted puffin and the horned puffin are the West Coast puffins here. And then the rhinoceros auklet is actually considered a puffin. It's in the puffin family without the name puffin. But those are also sometimes mistaken for tufted puffins in our area because they have the tuft and the orange bill. So we're referring to the tufted puffin here that's endangered in Washington state. Here you can see their winter habitat. So they go out to the ocean, the Pacific. They're known as pelagic birds, as all of these puffins are here. And then come to nest on an inner island. They're really meant to swim so quickly underwater with their huge paddle-like feathers and wings here and their feet. And then their bill can just carry loads of fish. In the winter, they transform into a darker color to blend in with their Pacific, the middle of the ocean environment. So I just want to show you real quick some of the things we teach our students, and then we'll wrap up and I'll take questions here. So this is from the tufted puffin. I think it was a recovery or it was the status report plan written by Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. And you can see the coast of Washington here and the interior of Washington. And the black outline boxes here are historic colonies, so 1866 to 1977. The bigger the dot is, the more colonies there are. And then, of course, the colors are shown here. I'll try to talk about this quickly. I've seen it so much that it immediately makes sense to my brain here. But basically, a long time ago, there was a lot of colonies, even interior island colonies here in the San Juan Islands. And then as time passes, you can see the dots get less and less. And so the population in Washington has declined to the point that these are listed as endangered. So right now, the only ones left on the interior are Smith and Protection Island. And those, I think, are about 20 to 30 puffins per island. So not very many left. The majority is on the coast, and I think it's around 1,000. So just for some numbers here, early 1900s, it was estimated to be about 25,000 tufted puffins in Washington. 78 to 84 down to 23,000. And then 2007 to 2010, we're down to 2950. So 90% decline. And if their recovery doesn't start soon, they are expected to go extinct here in Washington. So that's why those scientists, especially Peter that I've been working with, has really worked hard to get them listed. So they had to go through the status report and the recovery plan, which is necessary every 5 years. So again, we talked to the students about this. Our research program next year is going to cover orcas, the endangered southern resident orcas, and the endangered tufted puffins, where students are going to work year long with us on this research project. So just so you see, the minimum population count was 1278, and then to downlist them to just threaten. So from endangered to threaten, you're going to need to get up to, well, I should say 4,500 individuals. So quite a long way to go. There's more discussion to be had on that as to why their decline is happening and stuff, but you can reach out to me if you want to learn more. I won't take the time tonight. You can see tufted puffins are really declining almost everywhere except Alaska. So Alaska, I think some colonies are declining, but they are doing mostly better up in that area. So we are engaging students in this research. So I focused on the tufted puffins just because I like to bring that to awareness, to greater awareness to the public. So we're also doing some fun research projects with other animals like the harbor porpoise, the harbor seals, and orcas. A fun fact about tufted puffins, 99% sure, according to the scientists we're working with, that if they are traveling, flying with prey in the bill, there are chicks in the nest. So when we go out there to look for them, this is something that we're looking for, which we don't see often, which is obviously not necessarily a good thing, but they feed underwater. They feed themselves while swimming underwater. So if they are flying with prey in the bill, you could assume with 99% certainty that they have chicks back in the nest. And so that's a really good sign. So we're documenting that. We're also going out year round with our bird survey, but documenting their presence and absence. And so I really like this picture. It's kind of like a tree transforming in the fall. We're able to see them and we're coming to know these guys. We're trying to name them, but it definitely brings a special place in our hearts when you really spend time with them. So just to wrap it up here, we also are trying to get the younger students really interested and excited. So we chartered a boat. We have a Hughes Craft Ocean Pro 220. And so it's actually here in the background. We use that for our older student programs, but we use the local water taxi here, Island Express, and we bring younger students out because we really feel it's so important just to get them on the boat on an island and get to know the local waters and then start looking at the creatures, the marine life that depend on them. So that's what launched this year as a younger student program. And this is Puffin Protectors here. That's what this was called. Now, if you guys are interested in helping, we have these stuffed tufted puffins here that are up for adoption, so you can support our student research. This goes to student scholarships. We're super passionate about making this program affordable to all students or providing the opportunity to underserved or under-resourced students. Get a certificate. This guy's name is Tough Puff. He was named by our students. Last year, they saw the tufted puffins in the water and they kept calling one Tough Puff. So we thought that was a good name to call the stuffed animal that we designed. You can also sponsor a student, so you can provide a scholarship to students, young or old, to attend our programs. Other ways to help, just follow us, subscribe for email updates. We do action items, we do tree planting events. We need volunteers for walking in the 4th of July parade as an orca. If you want to volunteer, you can email me, it's listed there, or just follow along on Facebook or Instagram. We post pictures of what our students are up to all year long and the amazing marine life that we see. I have one final video here for you guys, and then I'll take any questions.
The Salish Sea, an incredibly diverse marine ecosystem where beauty abounds. Yet The decline of the ecosystem is outpacing recovery. The Salish Sea School is on an endless pursuit to cultivate a community of student leaders to restore health to the marine ecosystems. To connect all students to the remarkable classroom right outside their doorsteps. To provide transformational outdoor experiences that reconnect students with nature. That empower students as researchers. That engage students to act on behalf of all forms of life in the sea. None of this would be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. Because of you, we've given over $12,000 in scholarships in just our first year. Without these resources, nearly 80% of students would not have been inspired by the programs of the Salish Sea School. And for these gifts, we say a very heartfelt thank you.
And on that note, the Landons, you brought up the RCO. So Washington Recreation Conservation Office has given us a wonderful grant last year and these next 2 years as well. So highly support their program and all they do. So thank you guys for having me. Any questions? I'll stop sharing.
Excellent program. Excellent. I do have a question. Most of the programs I understand are seasonal, but the internship is year-round and the Puffin program is year-round. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the Puffin program, I just need to explain, is technically year-round, but Puffins only come in April through September. So we go out to show absence. But yeah, so you won't see Puffins every month.
And the internship, that's fairly new program. How does that work?
Yeah, so that's exciting. So it's going to look like a research scientist. So for instance, the Orca program we're going to do, there's a researcher on Friday Harbor, Monica Whelan Shields with Orca Behavior Institute. She's going to mentor and come up with the research question for the students. And they will be meeting virtually. So it'll be a group of 5 students that will meet virtually for the first month or 2. Then they'll go out on the boat with me and we'll do the research that Monica has basically trained and told them to do. And then they'll meet with Monica again. And then they'll go out and do a land-based study with her in Friday Harbor. And at the very end, it's kind of like a science fair project. You'll do a presentation to the community and show your findings. So that's limited to a group of 5 students for each topic. So same thing with the tufted puffin research. There'll be a harbor porpoise research as well.
Now, do the older students get credit in school for this program?
No, not yet. We're hoping that will happen. The Salish Sea School is not officially accredited, and at least colleges and high schools, I'm not sure about, but colleges want that accredited credit, or I mean, it's a complicated story. They would have to take me on as a teacher to get the credit, but that's the goal eventually.
Amy, we've got a question here. What age groups do these programs focus on? How do you enroll a child for the classes? Are they based out of Anacortes?
Great questions. So our shore-based programs are K through 5th grade, and our boat-based programs are 6th through 12th grade. The research internship will just be high school, so 9th through 12th grade. And they're all based out of Anacortes. They'll launch out of Cap Santee Marina, and they're all full this year for this summer, but the next summer programs, including the research internship, will launch in November of this year. And so if you subscribe to our website on the top right, you'll be the first to get the notification of the program launch for 2022.
Amy, I have a question. So there's been some studies that children's attention spans are shorter than ever. They're compared to the size of a goldfish when it comes to attention spans. It seems like you're actually finding the opposite, that you're really able to engage kids for long amounts of time. Has that been your experience? Any secrets for a parent, hypothetically?
Hypothetically.
Well, I think that everything you're saying, I would say yes. So I found that even from, when I stopped teaching a few years ago, it's tough, especially in the outdoor environment, because there's squirrels and there's birds, and you're just their attention span is definitely less, and the middle schoolers are more difficult, but it's really finding something interesting. I haven't had a student not interested in seeing that kind of stuff. Now, will they stay that long interested? It depends on the student. So I have a 7-year-old, and I have no advice for anyone.
Ha. Good answer.
But great
Thanks.
question.
Thanks.
Amy, can you, how many students do you have per year, or and do you have more students than you have capacity? And my other question has to do with, can you expand on your funding and where the funding comes from, and a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So our boat-based program, we do 6 sessions for the 4-day sessions. And that was mainly our insurance was limited, as maybe all of you are familiar with marine insurance, to 24 days on the water last year. And so we got a bigger insurance this year, but now we're limited with personnel. So we're a new school. We launched in 2019. Our first program opened last year during COVID, but luckily it was outside. And so we continued albeit a reduced capacity. So we serve 30 students per summer at 6 weeks on the water. Our shore-based program, we saw over 150. So it's a lot easier to get kids on the shore. The boat-based program with insurance has been limiting, and then also the vessel size. But, we have dreams in the future of larger boats or maybe another vessel, but we're taking it, 1 year at a time. So our funding, so kids pay for the program if they can afford it. And our first 3 years, so starting this year, will be the first paid personnel. So everyone has been volunteered to get us off the ground with COVID. All of my personnel has volunteered their time, which has been incredible, including myself. And so the funding, luckily, has only gone towards the expenses of getting the kids on the water, insurance, boat, fuel, and food, and the Washington Recreation and Conservation Office basically funded with a few other grants last year, and then some of the program income. So the goal is to make this affordable to anyone through grants, but also make it sustainable through program revenue.
So Amy, what can we do besides spreading the word? Is this something we should put in our annual gift giving? Peter is a huge donor to various causes, or time. What can we do to help?
How much time do you have to give?
Not enough. It's a fantastic program.
Mark, great question. We are at an incredible place right now where we have an incredible team, a small team of volunteers. So reaching out and providing us with whatever gifts you can bring to this world, whatever that is that you're passionate about, we want you to be happy to volunteering with us. But yes, of course, fundraisers and donations help and would help grow our school. Again, we're lucky enough right now that people are enjoying our programs enough that they are fully booked, but we're also at capacity with staffing. So I guess I'm too shy to be too direct with you, but we would love any and all help.
I think we need to buy some stuffed puffins for our children and grandchildren. I know some
I like those.
our grandchildren would love them. So,
can you talk a little more about the volunteers? What are you looking for? Who is it that if out in the audience right now, who is out there that might have the right skills that you're looking for?
What we're trying to do right now is grow the program, and again, we're at capacity with what we need for volunteers. So what we do on the boat is we have a captain, myself, and then a deckhand, and we're both considered the teachers as well. And so The goal is to hire, I don't know if anyone wants to captain, but eventually another few weeks during the summer, but that's all in good time, I think. But all boating experienced people, or if you just love teaching kids and want to be on the boat, these are all things we're looking at. But really, the volunteers with fundraising is a huge thing that we need help with. We don't have any big fundraising campaigns right now. Program development, curriculum development, or even interest in doing all the behind the scenes stuff.
Great.
Well, thanks so much, Amy. I'm seeing 8:01 here on our magical clock here. I wanted to let you know how much we appreciate your time. And Mark and Landon's, what's on tap for down the road with our fun show?
Well, it's funny you should say down the road. That's a great segue. Because, next week we have the infamous Bud Lemieux, boat builder, now in Anacortes, but has been working in the Seattle area through his entire career. And he wrote a book that I just finished reading a couple of weeks ago, On the Road to Being a Boat Builder, with some great stories. And just a fascinating guy. And so he's going to join us next Thursday night. And then, Lorena, who do we have at the end of the month?
And then on the 29th, we have Doug Lombard and Bob Weisner with Coho Ho Ho. So they're going to talk about the rally taking us down the West Coast from Seattle to San Francisco and San Diego, what the rally is all about and how you can sign up for that.
And then we've got something very important to all of us on the show, and that's that we're going on hiatus during the month of August. We're going to be out cruising. And Peter, I think you go out cruising that time of year also.
That's right.
And,
yeah, I need to get those details worked out, but thanks for remembering. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back on September, is it 8th or 9th?
9th.
I think I had it the 9th.
9th.
Thursday the 9th. We're going to be back on Thursday nights, 7 to 8 o'clock, and we're going to be putting together filling out our second year of programming, and a lot of interesting people we're going to be lining up for you for Seattle Boat Show Live.
Can't wait. Well, thanks so much. Thanks, Amy, again for being with us. Landon's, you take care up in Alaska. Mark, good to see you. And we're going to go out like we always do with the Roche Harbor colors.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you,
Amy.
guys. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Amy.
much. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Air Harbor Master of Roche Harbor. Welcome. Talk to you a little bit today about the color ceremony of our Roche Harbor Resort. Our color ceremony was started by the late Reuben Tart, founder of Roche Harbor as a resort in 1956, with the first color ceremony going off in 1957. Our color staff consists of 4 to 5 dock staff that do the color ceremony every evening, 10 minutes before sunset. They'll march out to Colonel Bogey's March to the flags, where they promptly take down the Roche Harbor Burgee first, and then they'll take down the Washington State flag, and then take down the Canadian flag, and then followed last by the British flag, and then the American flag comes down with a salute to colors by a cannon, and then plays taps. In Roche Harbor, please come and join us for our time-honored celebration. We look forward to sharing this experience with all of the boaters here at Roche Harbor, and have a safe and happy boating season.